Hey folks, welcome back to the show. We're here with our guest today, JEBTAM Publishing, featuring John Kuehner, President and Founder, and Alyssa Kuehner, Chief Creative Officer. Folks, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Mike.
Thanks
for having
Mike.
us.
A pleasure to having you guys out here. Listen, before we get into the meats and potatoes of this JEBTAM Publishing and what it's all about, Alyssa, tell us a little bit about yourself and prior to getting here, what's your interest in, and you know, just what you do with Pop here.
Oh gosh, well, we run a small boutique marketing firm together. It's a family-run business. Yes.
Right. So, yeah, John, I mean, just get into it a little bit about what you're doing. First of all, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I'm John Kuehner. I founded JEBTAM Publishing actually back in 2019. So it's been around for a while. Started out as an investment opportunity. But for me, I'm an engineer by training. Actually run another company. I run a gasket manufacturing company in Pennsylvania. And like I said, this started out as an investment opportunity, but as we'll get into it, it morphed into something much more, and now I work it with my daughter, Alyssa. It's kind of a really cool situation.
How do you two break up the jobs of it? And tell us what you do, Alyssa, and I'm sure you both feed into each other, but
Yeah.
what is your niche, so to
Sorry.
speak?
Well, as you can probably tell by my awkward pause in the beginning there, I'm much more used to being behind the camera. We do a lot of different things with our business, but I handle pretty much anything creative that comes in our laps. So anything from brand identity creation, logo design. I also produce several podcasts, which I'm sure you're familiar with at this point.
We'll be talking about that.
Absolutely. A lot of things of that nature. I also do a lot of our social media management. Basically anything that you could think of that could fall under the umbrella of creative within marketing is me.
And education-wise, I mean, was this something that you were into back in your high school and college days?
Not at all. I thought I was pre-med in college, and that didn't last very long, but I was an EMT for a couple of years. But after COVID, you know, life happens, made a couple job switches. I was managing a small business, and my dad fell into what became the start of JEBTAM and needed some help with social media. So I started helping him there, and it kind of ballooned from there.
Right, and the social, yeah, and I'm on social media, but I do not claim to be a social media expert in any stretch of the imagination. When you bring in your expertise, John, you know, from engineering, you touched on it a little there. Talk to us about how it all relates, you know, the overall, because it's you're running a company, so I'm sure there was multiple people, probably dozens, if not hundreds of them, and now it's the two of you working with clients. I mean, how did that transition?
You know, I think a good way to kind of get into that is to tell you how it started, right? So back in 2018, I'd been in the corporate world for about 35 years. I was VP of operations for a chemical company for a long time, doing a lot of M&A and due diligence and things like that. And a lot of that, believe it or not, I always loved marketing. It kind of sounds weird, right? I'm a technical engineer, but I love the marketing aspect of, believe it or not, marketing what we do from the operations side of things. So I left that. I was in that for a long time. Things worked out pretty well, and I went out to do some consulting, and I founded JEBTAM Consulting, LLC, back in 2018. Now, JEBTAM is the first and middle initial of all of our names. So it's my first and middle initial, hers, and my wife's. That's where JEBTAM came from. So we started with JEBTAM Consulting. I did that for a few years, and then, you know, some life changes. I mean, I had, you know, my dad passed away, and the consulting business, while it's great, you know what's difficult about that is collecting.
Yeah.
Right? So I was being recruited, and we were living in New York, looking for a house in Pennsylvania because we wanted to move here. She was at Drexel University at the time. And I got a call from a recruiter. I wasn't looking for a job. Actually, I was looking for a company to buy. And I took the call for some reason. I actually called him back. And maybe it was my dad telling me to call him back, but he said, "Are you interested in relocating?" I said, "Where?" He said, "How about Exton, Pennsylvania?" And that's just where we were looking for houses the day before. It was like this sign from above, I guess. So I went and met with the owner. He was looking for somebody to run one. He owned 7 companies, looking for somebody to run one of his 7 companies. And it worked out really well. So instead of buying a company, I got to run one and didn't have to invest my own money in it. So it worked out pretty well. So I did that. So I'm doing that, still doing that now, even after 8 years. But during that first year, I was looking for investment opportunities, and I bought revenue-generating websites. And it was a passive investment opportunity. And, you know, for a lot of reasons, that passive investment opportunity became less passive over time. Some things happened with that investment, and it wound up becoming a pretty active type opportunity. So, with my background in engineering, I had a background in process control engineering where I was programming chemical reactors to automate them. And so I started getting into the back end of some of these websites that I bought and kind of learning how they worked. Started learning how to code websites, and that past background I had in engineering translated really well. So I started doing a lot of the technical things. I took over the websites myself. I have a partner in Atlanta that we work with in this as well. And over time, some things began. I started to build this skill set. And I said, there's more we can do. Big part of the websites is email marketing. And a big part of what we do is on the social media side, right? So we have these websites, and we also, we produce newsletters every day, and then we have large social media platforms as well. And so I needed somebody to run that, so I brought Alyssa in. And seeing her skill set, she was great with social media, just creative as all get out. Opportunities just started to come to mind. We could grow this into something bigger. So that's kind of how JEBTAM started. So she started out just doing social media, but now it kind of morphed into more really hardcore marketing. She's tremendous with clients. When she sits down in front of a client, they love working with her. She just has a way about her. So I'm not bragging on my daughter here, but she is. It's pretty cool to watch her go. And when we sit down with a client, and Mike, you're a client, we sit down with you, I kind of let her do most of the talking because she's so creative. She's got a great way about her, and people just love working with her.
Listen, and that's awesome to go back and forth. But to you, Alyssa, again, we are in the midst of social media, and it's been for a couple decades now. But more importantly, marketing, business-wise, and so when you're talking to a guy like me, familiar with it, the importance of it. How do you stress that? Because to be quite honest, a lot of folks, even that I still talk to, I was like, no, it's just very, very important. And this may sound obvious, but to some of our viewers, it's not. The importance of something like that, whether it's a pizzeria, whether it's a PR firm, or what I'm doing, or some of the others. Talk to us a little bit about that, the importance of it, to have that platform.
Yeah, so that's it's such an interesting time right now with marketing because we're so inundated with ads and everything. Everyone's so tired of being pushed in the face with ads. But at the same time, to go with your pizza example, if you make the best pizza in Atlantic City, how are people gonna know about that if you're not putting it out there? If you don't have a social media presence these days, if you don't have people talking about your product, not just word of mouth, but actually getting it out there to the people who get that in front of people, whether that's social media or other different forms of ads. I'm phrasing this very poorly because, again, I'm more comfortable behind the camera.
No, it's fine, trust me. No rocket scientists here.
Without the marketing to actually get your product in front of people, whether that product is the pizza that we're talking about or even just your personality, you're not going to find your audience, you're not going to find the people you want to engage with. And that's just so important. If you want to follow your passion, you can't follow your passion if people aren't going to come to it.
Traditionally, there's still radio, some, right? It's something I do on the side as well. But, and then the paper, that was something that we grew up and seen the ads. Yeah. And again, this is where they're going because, again, my client base is a little bit older, right? So it shocks me all the time when I start looking and respond to some of the comments and, hey, Mike, where do I find this? Or thank you for that, and that sort of thing. So I kind of do a little vetting and just to see who's, what there. And it's amazing that they're our age, but it's starting to, what I see is grow and get more familiar, whether it's TikTok. I've literally, I think it was a few weeks ago, 3 or 4 people asked me, Mike, are you on TikTok? And I'm looking and I'm thinking to find a 20-year-old asking me, and it wasn't. It was someone my age. So it's starting to get out there, but it's so important. And again, folks just think it's whether it's something it's negative or it's political or it's that. You got to get the word out, as Alyssa said, and that's the importance. And you're tied in, John. I want to come back to the websites and that sort of thing, what you're doing the behind the scenes, being able, because what you've done with mine is amazing. Again, being able to just see how it works, how the folks are clicking in. Talk to us a little bit about that, the intricacies of the numbers, so to speak.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. So, with AI today, right? Everybody advertises, AI can build you a website in 90 seconds, right? Well, not really. It can. but it's not going to be anything that's really, really functional. And there's so many small businesses out there today, small startups that want to have an online presence. They want to have a website. And I call the website your central repository for everything that you do. So you have social media, every social media platform. You can advertise, you can do Google ads, but you really, you need every organization, every business has a website, right? That's where everything resides. I mean, we kind of push you, ACMikeNJ.com. That's where we have everything funneled to. A lot of businesses want that, but they don't know how to do it. And there's so many, and we cater to that small business. We're not gonna build a website for Microsoft. We're not gonna do that.
But we could.
Well, or Ticketmaster. They're talking about massive types of. But these small, like being this small boutique type organization, we can cater to that small business that doesn't have a lot of cash flow, doesn't have any cash flow, doesn't have a lot of money. We can help them get started. We can teach them, how to manage it on their own. So, one of the things that we pride ourselves on is we make sure that the client has complete control. So, if for example a client becomes unhappy with us, they could lock us out tomorrow. We always give them that ability, but we teach them also how to manage their own sites and how to manage their own social media, so that they're independent and they can kind of do what they need to do, so that they're not locked into us. Mm-hmm. We want them to stay with us for sure, and I think because of that trust that we build with our client base, that happens. But yeah, your website is your central repository for everything that you do.
And to your point, John, we got about 2 minutes here, and Alyssa, you could jump in as well. So when you're saying it's the central repository, it's everything, right? Is there such a thing as too much on it? Or is that about pages? I mean, so our viewers kind of understand, is it a certain page, the menu, clicks or whatnot, or everything could be put in a, in a different format on another website? You would want it on one, is what I'm trying to say. But,
well, you want it on one, but I think, the structure of the website, when you try to build your website so that it's optimized for search engines, how you structure that website and the content that you put on it so that it's linked together is really important. So that's why you say, well, I will only build a custom coded website. There's so much more flexibility. There's the ability to do kind of anything that you want. There's any type of technical challenges can be done with a custom coded website, as opposed to one that you build with Wix or some other block builder, or let AI build you a website on GoDaddy Arrow or things like that. I think it's really important for small businesses can do that, but these startups, if they really want something that's of value, and I think we've kind of shown that to you, having it custom coded, having it thought out in advance, having it organized properly so that it's search engine optimized, so that traffic goes to it organically, is really important, and that's kind of what we do.
Right.
So yeah.
30 seconds. So when we come back, we're going to take a quick break, John and Alyssa, and you touched on it briefly, AI, the importance of it, the not to depend on it, all of it, but the creative part of it, and then you touched on, and it's kind of what we did too, our own taste and touch. But a lot of folks today are horrified, scared. I don't even know what the right word is, but calm, cool. We'll talk about that when we get back. Folks, we'll be right back with John and Alyssa Kuehner, JEBTAM Publishing. Thank you. We'll be right back.